Imagine the raw, unimaginable power of the Greek gods. A single touch from some could bring forth a raging storm, or a whispered curse could shatter a kingdom. And at the very peak of their might stands Zeus, whose thunderbolt could shatter mountains and ignite the very sky. But have you ever stopped to wonder who forged that cosmic weapon? Who crafted the impenetrable shields, the self-moving chariots, the very tools that shaped destiny itself? Tonight, we pull back the veil on the most overlooked genius of Olympus. The god who didn't just forge Zeus's thunderbolts, but countless other legendary wonders. The impenetrable armor of Achilles, the terrifying bronze giant Talos, and even Pandora, the first woman. He was cast out, deemed imperfect, yet his hands built the very fabric of the divine world. And here's a secret many don't know. This god had a big role in Athena's birth, a story we'll explore later. This is the unbelievable tale of Hephaestus, the cosmic craftsman, the god who built destiny from fire and steel. Today, we'll talk about the tale of Hephaestus, the 32 of his legendary inventions, and his rough life which he didn't deserve. But without his genius, the gods would have lost some battles which they won. Let's get into it. But first, where are you watching this from and what time it is there? I'm always curious to know how far these Greek mythology stories travel. Let's get started. To truly understand the genius and strength of Hephaestus, we must look at how he was born. It was a very sad start that shaped his whole life. Unlike the other gods on Mount Olympus, who were born perfect and beautiful, Hephaestus came into the world with a problem. He was born lame, meaning he had a bad foot, like a club foot. People often said he was ugly or not perfect. This made him very different from the other gods who were all so pretty and strong. Here's exactly what happened. Hera, the queen of the gods and Zeus's wife, was very angry and jealous. Zeus had just given birth to Athena, who came out of his head, fully grown and wearing armor. So, Hera decided to have a child all by herself, without Zeus, to show she could do it. But when she saw her new baby boy, Hephaestus, she was shocked. He was lame and not beautiful. This filled her with so much shame and disgust that she could not stand to look at him. Because of her shame and anger, Hera immediately threw him out of high Mount Olympus. She hurled him down from the top of the sky. He fell for a whole day and a whole night, a tiny, helpless god tumbling through the huge sky. He was falling far away from the bright homes of his godly family. This was a very cruel way to get rid of a newborn, who she thought was not good enough. His very long and scary fall did not kill him. Instead, he landed in the huge, soft ocean below. He splashed into the sea, far away from the mean eyes of Olympus. It was a miracle that he was found and saved by two kind beings, the gentle sea nymphs, Thetis, who would later be the mother of the great hero Achilles, and Eurynomy, a daughter of the sea god Oceanus. These nymphs felt sorry for the baby god who had been left alone. They saw a special spark in him that his own mother had missed. They took him to their secret cave under the water. It was a safe place, deep beneath the waves. Here, away from the harsh judgment of the other gods, Hephaestus grew up in secret. Thetis and Eurynomy took care of him with love and kindness. This hidden home helped him to grow strong and learn. It was in this calm, watery world that Hephaestus, the god who was thrown away, started to find his amazing talent. He was surrounded by beautiful things from the ocean, shells, shiny pearls, colorful coral, and glowing metals. He began to try out new things. Even though his hands were lame, he just knew how to work with these materials. This secret time growing up under the ocean was very important. It let him grow his special skills without anyone being mean or judging him. This set him up to become the best craftsman in the whole universe. Deep under the ocean, in a secret cave that glowed softly from sea creatures and echoed with the quiet sounds of the water, young Hephaestus started his real work. His foster mothers, Thetis and Eurynomy, saw how much he loved to look at things around him. He didn't play like other children. Instead, he would spend many hours looking closely at smooth stones, fancy shells, and shiny pieces of coral from the seabed. It was in this secret place that he first found out about his amazing talent. He started to try working with metals. He used the natural heat from hot spots under the sea to make metals soft. Then he shaped them with simple tools. He quickly learned how to work with gold, silver, and bronze. He turned these plain materials into things that were incredibly beautiful. He made lovely jewelry like necklaces and bracelets from pearls and coral for his nymph mothers. These pieces shone with a special light. Even these first things he made showed how smart and gifted the young god was. As he got older, his talent grew even more. He realized that the quiet ocean depths, even though they were peaceful, were not big enough for all the things he could do. He needed the strong power of fire, the super hot heat that only a volcano could give. So, Hephaestus left his home under the water. He made his main workshop deep inside the earth. People often said his forge was under Mount Etna, a huge volcano in Sicily, or sometimes on the island of Lemnos, which also had volcanoes. These were places with huge natural power, where the earth itself had fire. Imagine his secret workshop, a giant cave, far underground. It was always filled with a loud roar of furnaces and the steady clang of hammers. Rivers of glowing, melted metal, bright orange and red, flowed in channels on the floor. Huge anvils, heavy and still, waited for him to work on them. The air smelled strongly of smoke and hot metal. But even with all this, it was a place where amazing things were made. Hephaestus did not work alone in his forge. He often worked with the Cyclops, the one-eyed giants that Zeus had led out of Tartarus. These strong beings were also good blacksmiths. They became his loyal helpers, doing the heaviest jobs, like pounding huge pieces of metal. But Hephaestus was smart, even more than just strong and good with fire. He made his own special tools. These were like magic machines. He built magical bellows that worked by themselves, blowing air into his furnaces without anyone needing to pump them. He made intelligent tongs that could pick up and move hot metal all on their own. His hammers seemed to swing by themselves, hitting the metal perfectly every time. These tools that worked on their own were like a part of his brilliant mind. They let him work for a long time and make things perfectly. Hephaestus himself looked special in his workshop. He was very strong, with wide shoulders and big, muscular arms from using his hammer so much. His face was often dirty with soot and wet with sweat. His dark, curly hair and beard usually had burn marks or ash on them. Even though he was lame and limped, he moved with a clear purpose around his forge. His eyes, though often tired, were kind, very smart, and had a deep, thoughtful spark. This showed how brilliant his mind was. Unlike many other gods who were proud and often acted like they were better than everyone, Hephaestus was patient, worked very hard, and was kind. He found real peace and meaning in making things. He put all his effort into every single creation. He was a god who understood what it was like to struggle and not be perfect. This made him truly caring. He often helped settle fights among the quarrelsome gods on Olympus. He used his calm way of being and his wisdom to bring peace. His forge was not just a place to work. It was a place of pure creation, where Hephaestus, the god who was thrown away, turned plain materials into wonders. These wonders would shape the whole universe. His journey from being cast out to becoming the master artist of the gods showed how strong his spirit was and how truly amazing his mind was. Now let's talk about the truly amazing things Hephaestus made for the gods. These were not just pretty objects. They were powerful tools and weapons that helped the gods rule the universe and win their biggest battles. Without Hephaestus, the gods of Olympus would not have been nearly as strong or as grand. He was the secret power behind their might, the one who made their symbols of authority real and terrifying. His most famous and important creation was the thunderbolt of Zeus. Imagine the king of the gods, Zeus, without his mighty lightning bolt. He would still be powerful, but he wouldn't be the same terrifying force that made the heavens tremble. Hephaestus, working closely with the Cyclops, forged these incredible weapons. The Cyclops were the one-eyed giants whom Zeus had freed from Tartarus. They were grateful to Zeus and became Hephaestus's loyal helpers in his forge. They pounded the raw metals, heating them in the fiercest fires. Then, Hephaestus, with his genius, shaped the pure energy of the sky itself into these bolts. Each thunderbolt was a masterpiece of divine power, crackling with raw, untamed energy, ready to be thrown by Zeus. It could strike down enemies with blinding speed, shatter mountains into dust, or ignite the very sky with its fury. These thunderbolts were what truly made Zeus the undisputed king of the cosmos. They were the ultimate sign of his power, his justice, and his terrifying wrath. It said that Hephaestus could craft these bolts so perfectly that Zeus always had a fresh supply, ready to enforce his will across the universe. Hephaestus also made special tools for Zeus's brothers, the other rulers of the universe. For Hades, the stern god of the underworld, Hephaestus forged the cap of darkness, also known as the helmet of invisibility. This was no ordinary helmet. When Hades wore it, he became completely invisible to gods and mortals alike. He could walk among them, unseen and unheard, a shadowy presence. This helmet was a crucial tool for Hades, allowing him to move secretly throughout his dark realm and even visit the upper world without being noticed. It made him a silent, powerful force, able to appear and disappear at will, adding to his mysterious and feared nature. Imagine the power of being able to watch anyone, anywhere, without them ever knowing you were there. That was the gift of Hephaestus. For Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea, Hephaestus crafted the powerful trident. This three-pronged spear was the ultimate symbol of Poseidon's rule over all waters. With it, Poseidon could stir up massive storms that swallowed ships whole, cause earthquakes that shook the land, or calm the wildest waves with a single gesture. It was a weapon that controlled the very nature of the sea, making Poseidon an unstoppable force in his watery domain. The trident was not just a weapon. It was an extension of Poseidon's will, a testament to Hephaestus's ability to capture the essence of a god's power in metal. Beyond these main, well-known weapons, Hephaestus made countless other special armors and tools for the gods and goddesses of Olympus. He created the shining armor of Ares, the god of brutal war, making him even more fearsome and protected in battle. This armor was not just strong. It was crafted to reflect Ares's fierce nature, perhaps with sharp edges or a menacing gleam. Hephaestus also crafted the beautiful but deadly silver bows and arrows for Apollo and Artemis, the twin archers. These bows were perfectly balanced, and the arrows flew with unmatched speed and accuracy, ensuring their shots were always true, whether for hunting or for striking down foes. He made the winged helmet and winged sandals for Hermes, the swift messenger god. These items allowed Hermes to fly faster than the wind, carrying messages across the heavens and earth in an instant, making the quickest of all the gods. These items were not just practical. They were imbued with magic and divine power, making their owners even more formidable and embodying their very essence. Hephaestus also designed and built the magnificent palaces and thrones for all the Olympian gods on Mount Olympus. Imagine the grand halls of Olympus, with their gleaming marble and golden decorations. Hephaestus was the architect and builder behind these divine homes. He made each god's throne unique, reflecting their power and personality. For Zeus, a golden throne that shimmered with power. For Hera, a throne adorned with peacock feathers. These palaces were not just buildings. They were works of art, designed to last forever and to show the glory of the Olympian gods. He also made unbreakable locks for these palaces, ensuring the gods' privacy and safety, a testament to his skill and security, as well as creation. One of his most clever inventions for the gods' comfort was the set of golden tripods. These were large, three-legged cauldrons used for serving food at the gods' feasts. But these were no ordinary tripods. Hephaestus built them with golden wheels underneath, so they could move on their own. They would roll themselves to and from the dining hall, serving the gods without needing any servants. They were a wonder to behold, showing Hephaestus's skill in making things that seemed alive, blending engineering with magic. His creations were not just about power and comfort. They were about beauty and cunning too. Hephaestus, the god who was once rejected for his looks, created the most beautiful and powerful objects in the universe, proving that true worth comes from skill and genius, not just outward appearance. His forge was the heart of Olympus's might, a place where destiny was literally hammered into shape. His creations were essential for the gods to maintain their power and for the universe to function as it did. Without his tireless work, the Olympian age might never have truly blossomed. Hephaestus's genius was not limited to just making weapons, armor, or beautiful jewelry. His mind worked in ways no other gods did. He was the master of automata, which were like ancient robots, living machines that could move, think, and even speak on their own. These creations were truly wondrous, showing his skill in bringing life to metal and proving he was far more than just a blacksmith. One of his most famous and terrifying living creations was Talos, the giant bronze automaton. Talos was a colossal guardian, a huge man made entirely of bronze, built to protect the island of Crete. Zeus gave Talos to King Minos of Crete, or sometimes to Europa, to guard the island. Talos had only one vein, which ran from his neck to his ankle, closed by a single bronze nail. He patrolled the shores of Crete 3 times a day, throwing massive rocks at any approaching ships. If intruders managed to land, Talos would heat his bronze body red-hot in a fire, and then embrace them, burning them to death. He was nearly indestructible, a perfect, tireless guardian. This shows Hephaestus' skill in creating not just a statue, but a complex, self-operating defender that was almost impossible to defeat. His creation of Talos was a marvel of ancient engineering and magic, a true living machine. Back in his own workshop, Hephaestus didn't like to work alone, and because of his limp, he sometimes needed help moving around. So, he created his own personal assistants, golden and silver maidens. These were beautiful, life-size statues, crafted from gleaming precious metals. But they were more than just statues. They were automata, meaning they could move, speak, and even think. They were intelligent, capable of helping him with his work, moving tools, bringing him materials, and supporting him as he walked. Imagine having companions made of pure gold, who understood your every need and could assist you with perfect grace. These maidens were a testament to his ability to imbue his creations with a form of artificial life, making them seem almost human. He also built the self-moving tripods for the gods' feasts on Mount Olympus. We mentioned these before, but it's worth noting again how truly advanced they were. These were large, 3-legged cauldrons, made of gleaming gold, used for serving food and wine. But Hephaestus fitted them with golden wheels that allowed them to move entirely on their own. They would roll themselves to and from the dining hall, serving the gods without needing any servants. They were a wonder to behold, showing Hephaestus' skill in making things that seemed alive, blending engineering with magic. Even the chains he forged were, in a way, living in their purpose and symbolic power. Hephaestus was commanded by Zeus to create the unbreakable adamant chains that bound Prometheus to the Caucasus Mountains. While this was a task he pitted Prometheus for, he forged these chains with his unparalleled skill, knowing they had to be absolutely unbreakable to hold a powerful titan. These chains were not just metal. They were imbued with the very essence of divine will and punishment, designed to hold an immortal being in eternal torment. They were a testament to his ability to create things that fulfilled the gods' most severe decrees, even if it caused him personal sorrow. Hephaestus' creations also included chariots for various gods, like the fiery chariot of Helios, the sun god, which pulled the sun across the sky each day. He built the very palaces of the gods themselves, with their intricate designs and unbreakable locks. He even crafted the girdle of Aphrodite, a magical belt that made its wearer irresistible, a powerful tool of charm and seduction. These living creations, from the giant bronze guardian to his helpful golden assistants, show a side of Hephaestus that goes beyond just a blacksmith. He was a visionary, an inventor, and a master of ancient robotics. He could imbue his creations with movement, intelligence, and a purpose that made them seem almost alive. His workshop was a place of endless marvels, where the impossible became real, and where the very fabric of the divine world was constantly being shaped and refined by his ingenious hands. His ability to create such wonders, despite his own physical challenges, cemented his place as the true cosmic craftsman. Hephaestus' journey from being cast out to becoming the master craftsman of the gods was a long and difficult one. For many years, he lived hidden beneath the ocean, then deep within his fiery forge, far from the other Olympians. But his incredible talent could not remain a secret forever. The gods, especially Hera, eventually realized they needed his skills. The story of his return to Olympus is a famous one, showing his cleverness and a touch of well-deserved revenge. Hera, his mother, had been suffering from a terrible headache. No god could cure her. Hephaestus, from his hidden forge, sent her a magnificent golden throne as a gift. It was a beautiful piece of furniture, shining and intricately made, a true marvel. Hera, delighted by the gift, sat upon it. But as soon as she did, invisible, unbreakable chains, forged by Hephaestus himself, sprang out and trapped her. She was stuck, unable to move, a prisoner on her own throne. The other gods on Olympus were shocked and angry. They tried everything to free their queen, but no one could break the chains. They knew only one god could have made such a trap: Hephaestus. Zeus sent Ares, the god of war, to bring Hephaestus back to Olympus by force. But Hephaestus, still angry about being thrown out, easily drove Ares away with fire. Then Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry, was sent. Dionysus, known for his charm and his ability to persuade, approached Hephaestus not with threats, but with kindness and, of course, plenty of good wine. He listened to Hephaestus's story, understood his pain and anger. Hephaestus, softened by the wine and Dionysus's friendly words, finally agreed to return to Olympus. He rode back on a donkey, a humble procession, but one that brought him back to his rightful place among the gods. Once he arrived, he freed Hera from her golden trap. This was his way of getting justice, forcing the gods to acknowledge him and his immense value. He was finally welcomed back to Olympus, not for his beauty, but for his unmatched skill. Once back on Olympus, Hephaestus was given a place of honor. He had his own palace and forge, where he continued to create wonders. But his life on Olympus was still not without its challenges, especially when it came to his marriage. Zeus, perhaps to prevent other gods from fighting over her, or to honor Hephaestus for his return, arranged for him to marry Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. This was a strange and ironic match. The most beautiful goddess in all of Olympus married to the god who was considered the least attractive and who had a limp. Aphrodite, known for her vanity and her desire for perfection, was not happy with this marriage. She did not truly love Hephaestus. This led to one of the most famous and dramatic conflicts in Hephaestus's personal life. Aphrodite secretly had an affair with Ares, the handsome but brutal god of war, who was also Hephaestus's brother. They believed their secret was safe, meeting in Hephaestus's own palace. But Hephaestus, despite his quiet nature, was very clever and resourceful. The sun god, Helios, who saw everything, told Hephaestus about the affair. Hephaestus was deeply hurt and angered by this betrayal. But instead of confronting them directly with violence, he used his genius. He forged an incredibly fine, almost invisible net made of unbreakable bronze chains. It was so thin it was like a spider's web, impossible to see, but stronger than any metal. He secretly set this trap over his own marriage bed. When Ares and Aphrodite next met in his bed, the invisible net sprang shut, trapping them both completely. They were caught, naked and helpless, unable to move. Hephaestus then called all the other Olympian gods to witness their shame. The gods gathered, some laughing at the sight, others shocked. Poseidon, however, was sympathetic to Ares and eventually persuaded Hephaestus to release them. This event, while humiliating for Aphrodite and Ares, showed Hephaestus's brilliant cunning and his ability to use his craft for justice, even in personal matters. It also showed that even the most beautiful gods could be caught by the cleverness of the lame blacksmith. Despite these personal hardships and his physical challenges, Hephaestus often played a crucial role as a peacemaker and a voice of reason among the often quarrelsome gods on Olympus. While other gods might resort to arguments or even violence, Hephaestus would use his calm demeanor and practical wisdom to settle disputes. His quiet, hard-working nature made him different from the proud and often arrogant Olympians. He was respected for his skill, and his advice was often sought, even if he wasn't always at the center of attention. He also showed compassion where others showed cruelty. When Zeus commanded him to chain Prometheus to the Caucasus Mountains as punishment for giving fire to humans, Hephaestus felt deep pity for the Titan. He carried out Zeus's orders, knowing he had no choice, but he did so reluctantly, expressing sorrow for Prometheus's fate. This showed his kind heart, a stark contrast to the vengeful nature of Zeus or the jealousy of Hera. Hephaestus found his true purpose and dignity in his work. His forge was his sanctuary, a place where his brilliance shone brightest. He proved that worth is not about appearance or physical perfection, but about skill, creativity, and the ability to contribute something truly valuable to the world. He was the indispensable artisan, the quiet force behind Olympus's glory, and a god whose unique journey from rejection to mastery made him one of the most fascinating figures in Greek mythology. His story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the triumph of genius over adversity. One of the most surprising and important stories that shows Hephaestus's unique role and skill is his part in the birth of Athena, the powerful goddess of wisdom, strategic warfare, and crafts. This event is not only a key moment in Zeus's own story, but it highlights Hephaestus's ability to solve even the most divine and impossible problems. The story began with Zeus himself. He had a very clever first wife named Metis, whose name means wisdom or cunning. Metis was incredibly smart, even smarter than Zeus in some ways. A prophecy was made that Metis would give birth to two children. First, a daughter, and then a son who would be so powerful that he would eventually overthrow Zeus, just as Zeus had overthrown his own father, Cronus. Zeus, remembering the terrible fate of his father and wanting to keep his supreme power, decided to act. He used his cunning to trick Metis. He flattered her, praising her wisdom and beauty, and then, in a moment of passion, he swallowed her whole. He believed that by doing this, he would stop the prophecy from coming true, and Metis's wisdom would become part of him, making him even smarter. For a time, everything seemed fine. Zeus continued to rule Olympus. But then, he began to suffer from an absolutely terrible headache. It was not just any headache. It was a pain so immense, so agonizing, that it made the king of the gods roar in discomfort. The pain grew worse and worse, pounding inside his head, becoming unbearable. He tried everything, but nothing could ease the divine agony. Finally, in desperation, Zeus cried out for help. He called upon Hephaestus, knowing that only the master craftsman, the god of ingenuity and tools, could possibly solve such a strange and divine problem. Hephaestus, with his quiet wisdom and his ever-ready tools, came to Zeus's side. Zeus, in his agony, commanded Hephaestus to split open his head with an axe. Imagine the shock of the other gods. To strike the king of the gods with an axe was an unthinkable act. But Hephaestus, understanding the urgency and perhaps sensing the divine will behind this strange command, obeyed. He took his sharpest double-headed axe, a tool he himself had forged with perfect precision. With a swift, powerful, and precise blow, Hephaestus struck Zeus's skull. The sound must have echoed across Olympus, and from the split in Zeus's head, something truly astonishing happened. It was not blood or brains that emerged. Instead, fully grown and fully armed, sprang forth the goddess Athena. She burst forth, clad in gleaming armor, with a helmet on her head, a spear in her hand, and a shield on her arm. She let out a mighty war cry that echoed through the heavens, shaking Olympus itself. She was born not from a mother's womb, but from the very mind of Zeus, embodying wisdom, strategic warfare, and crafts. She was a fierce, intelligent, and powerful goddess, instantly ready for battle. Hephaestus, the god who had been cast out for his own physical imperfection, was the one chosen to perform this crucial act of divine surgery. His skill with the axe, his precision, and his understanding of divine anatomy were essential. This moment cemented his indispensable role on Olympus. It showed that even the king of the gods needed Hephaestus's unique talents to bring forth one of his most important children. Athena quickly became Zeus's most favored daughter, often acting as his wise counselor and a key ally in battles. Her birth from Zeus's head, aided by Hephaestus, was a powerful symbol of her wisdom and her connection to her father's intellect. Hephaestus, despite his humble appearance, was the one who literally brought forth one of the greatest goddesses into existence, a testament to his unmatched skill and his central, though often understated, role in the divine order of Olympus. The story of Athena's birth from Zeus's head, aided by Hephaestus, is a remarkable tale of divine power and unique creation. But this moment also led to another surprising event, one that inadvertently involved Hephaestus in a very different kind of creation: the birth of Erechthonius, a future king of Athens, and a testament to Hephaestus's compassion. After Athena burst forth from Zeus's head, Hephaestus, who had just performed this incredible feat of divine surgery, was left standing before the newly born goddess. In some versions of the myth, Hephaestus, perhaps overwhelmed by Athena's sudden and radiant beauty, or perhaps simply lonely and longing for affection, given his unfortunate marriage to Aphrodite, felt a sudden desire for her. He approached Athena, intending to embrace her. However, Athena, as the goddess of wisdom and a perpetual virgin, fiercely rejected his advances. She was pure and untouched, and she recoiled from his attempt. In the struggle, Hephaestus's semen fell onto the ground, specifically onto the earth Gaia. Gaia, the Mother Earth, became pregnant from this divine seed. Gaia, not wanting to carry a child conceived in such a strange and unwanted way, refused to raise the baby. When the child was born, he was a strange and unique being, half human, half serpent. He was named Erechthonius, meaning born of the earth. Gaia presented this unusual infant to Athena, who, despite the awkward circumstances of his conception, felt a connection to him. He was, in a way, born from the earth near her own birth, and had a connection to her father's essence. Athena, ever wise and strategic, decided to raise Erechthonius in secret. She placed the infant in a sacred basket or chest and entrusted him to the care of the 3 daughters of King Cecrops of Athens, Pandora, Hera, and Aglaros. She strictly warned them never to open the chest, telling them that the contents were sacred and forbidden to mortal eyes. However, driven by curiosity, a trait that often leads to trouble in Greek myths, much like Pandora's jar, 2 of the sisters, Hera and Aglaros, could not resist. They secretly opened the basket. Inside, they found the infant Erechthonius, with his unusual serpent-like lower body, guarded by 1 or 2 sacred snakes. The sight horrified them, and in some versions, they were driven mad by the sight, throwing themselves off the Acropolis. Pandora, the 3rd sister, remained loyal and did not open the chest. After this tragic incident, Athena took Erechthonius back, but it was Hephaestus who stepped forward to take on a paternal role. Despite the strange circumstances of Erechthonius' birth and his own initial rejection by Athena, Hephaestus felt compassion for the child. He became Erechthonius' foster father, taking him into his care. Hephaestus, who understood what it was like to be rejected and to have a physical deformity, raised Erechthonius with love and taught him many skills, particularly in craftsmanship and engineering, just like himself. Erechthonius grew up to be a wise and just king of Athens. Hephaestus, as his foster father, played a crucial role in shaping the city. Erechthonius is credited with many important inventions and advancements for Athens, often said to be inspired or directly aided by Hephaestus. These include the invention of the chariot. Erechthonius was the first to yoke horses to a chariot, a major technological advancement for warfare and transportation. This invention reflects Hephaestus's influence in engineering. The establishment of the Panathenaic Festival, a great festival in honor of Athena, which became one of the most important religious events in Athens. Building the first wooden statue of Athena, a sacred image housed in her temple. The construction of the Erechtheion, a famous temple on the Acropolis of Athens, part of which is dedicated to Erechthonius and his unique birth. The story of Erechthonius highlights several aspects of Hephaestus's character. It shows his compassion and willingness to care for a child who was, in a way, his own, despite his unusual form and the circumstances of his conception. It also demonstrates his continued ingenuity, as his influence led to significant technological and cultural advancements in Athens. His role as a foster father to a king who founded one of Greece's greatest cities further cemented his importance beyond just forging weapons for the gods. This myth adds another layer to Hephaestus's complex story, showing him not just as a powerful craftsman, but as a figure capable of love, nurturing, and profound influence on the mortal world, even when his personal desires were thwarted. It's a testament to his character that despite his own difficult beginnings and the rejection he faced, he extended kindness and wisdom to a child in need, shaping a king and a city that would become central to Greek civilization.